Hey guys, it's Danny here with a investing video. So big week, big returns, huge spike, up at 58% returns. It's a huge thing. So um, we've been betting big on shipping, and we were rewarded. I mean, basically, it didn't seem to me. I mean, it seemed like something had to give. You got inventories falling. What happens? If the stores run out of stuff to sell, then the entire country goes into recession. I mean, because they start laying off workers at all the stores. And then it's also American businesses that are selling stuff, even though it's made overseas. So it's just kind of a catastrophe from retail, from companies that make items. Even if they're using outside sources. Just catastrophe everywhere. So I did not, it was not unexpected. I was a little surprised how soon it was, a little off guard, but we were in a good enough position. Some of my options, I had to just roll them and make the best of it. Took some big capital losses rolling the options, but got much more valuable options. Uh, I'm just gonna look at my phone. Some of the numbers are easier for me to pull up here. Uh, So the options that we now have $42,768 in options, so almost $43,000 in options. So I mean that's just financing that will, it expires. You know, you earn all of that. Maybe you keep the stocks, maybe you don't. Obviously, I did get kind of in at a kind of low basis on my options. Most of the options, 86 of them are at a 16-16 strike. So I guess there were 17 strikes or maybe 1750. There was a special dividend that reduced that. So there's 16-16 strikes, which is 2 years out. That. I'll take a little bit of a loss on the shares, but obviously that'll offset the capital gain from the options. But I mean, obviously that's huge. That I mean it's just massive. Benefit of that, you know. It also kind of guarantees that the returns of this portfolio are going to be very strong for a while, just because the strength of those options. So the other ones, I obviously got a little heavy. You can see I'm in, you know, but I'm still strong. My numbers, my excess liquidity is 4,200 ish. Plus there's a big dividend coming. Maybe $1 a share. I mean, it could be more or less. Who knows? But we'll see when we get earnings soon. But let's say it's $1 a share. That's an 11,000 dividend. So obviously that's quite a lot of capital that'll help. Um, but even still, I had kind of a lot of shares. You can see in all the excitement, I did a lot of trading, which was actually very profitable. I made $3,000 or $4,000 just trading. Um, but also my trading really bumped my share count. But obviously, it kind of was like, how do I get out of that? So I on May 30th, I sold some calls for 150 a pop. So, um, that's actually quite a lot. When you're talking about 2,300 shares at 150 each, that's some pretty good cash. And it's a 1750 strike, so that basically you take the 1750, add that on. It's like not selling at 19, which I started to think that it's not going to break 19. I mean, it could. I just think that it's maybe early. I mean, I could be wrong. It could maybe just start moving and go 20, 30. I mean, who knows? 20, I have no idea. But I mean, I think it's a little early because I mean, if the index was higher, like 50% higher, then I think we could see a real movement way above 20. But I mean, it's kind of early. I mean, we saw an 8% move in the index today, and probably a lot more moves in the index. So, but I mean, I guess the question is also where does it end up? Because I mean, for example, if the index only rises maybe 20% more, I mean, it's going to be very profitable, but maybe not like worthy of you know $25 per share. Um, so that's why I'm kind of thinking like we may not break 19. Just because it's too early. I mean, it could. It's so early. We just don't know where. And then also, it's only a 90-day thing, and then what happens after that? Maybe U.S. and China don't make a good deal. And maybe if they don't make a good deal, that's a good thing in the long run. But maybe it's a bad thing. It just depends. Because I feel like this we're actually going to do a little bit better because of no deal, and then the stopgap thing, then haven't have had a deal the whole time, maybe. But in any case, obviously, but you end up in a situation where there's no deal, and then just it completely disintegrates. That could be very bad. But if you end up in a lot of stopgap of like, oh, we hate each other for like 6 months, and then 3 months of okay, we'll do a reset. That could actually be very profitable. But honestly, a deal would probably you know be ideal as well. But I mean, we'll just see. But I mean, it's kind of early to say. I mean, I would be surprised if it just runs up through 20 at this point. But I mean, it could be wrong. Absolutely, I have no idea. I mean, it's really hard to know because we're so early on. But we know, and I think obviously the 15 was like there's going to be a $1 dividend, and then it's. I mean, 15 made sense for a $1 dividend, and then kind of like the next quarter is going to be like a tiny little profit, maybe like a 10-cent dividend. And then who knows, it could be a loss. But now it's like, okay, we got a $1 dividend, and then like maybe a 10-cent dividend. I mean, I have no idea if these numbers are right, but just my guesses. And then we're gonna get like, maybe something even bigger. But anyway, think about that. Even if it's another $1 dividend, because that's like off of 30%. That would mean more than a $3 dividend. With the catch up. But I don't know. I have no idea. But I think that the movement is appropriate because we know, there's 3 good quarters in a row. I mean, the one quarter is going to be meager the next quarter because that's already in the books, really. Because this none of the freight, because the freight ships will just take 30 days to move, or 20-30 days to move, and then there's the payment time, and the capture is really long. So there's just going to be no capture in the second quarter. So the second quarter is going to be pretty meager. But I think it'll probably still be profitable. I don't think we ever left, from what I'm hearing, we ever left the profitability range. So, obviously we're going to have very, very strong first quarter. I mean, not like epically strong, but strong. Meager second quarter, but profitable. And then third quarter should be very strong. We'll have to see if it's sort of like 50 cent strong, $1 strong, $2 strong, $4 strong. I mean, it could get pretty wild. But we don't know. We don't know yet. You know. But I mean, obviously, we've got a big amount of debt on here, which is not that concerning. You think. Well, that's also why I went with the short options. Is like depending how it looks. I mean, hopefully, I mean, if we don't break 17.50, I guess I'll keep them, and then I'll have to play with it. But I mean, think about that. In that case, I made 150, and then if I can sell it like at 450 like the other ones, what is that, $6 plus the dividend is $7. So you're already talking $7 a share plus whatever the next couple dividends are. It's like, okay, you've already gained half of it back. So maybe I cannot worry about it. I mean, so my goal is obviously ideally by 2027 to turn this into something which just funds a Roth IRA. So I was thinking of doing that out of my Vanguard brokerage, but my Vanguard brokerage I think is more ideally set up to be like a cash reserve. So I can have my dividend stocks in there, and then I can use those dividend stocks to fund a cash reserve. So I have a nice big cash cushion for emergencies, or just ideally I'd kind of like a 2-year supply of cash, in a decent yield, and then with enough dividends coming in that like I could just live off it entirely, even with that before I get to retirement age. But not that I necessarily would want to retire. It's just a safe net and a nice thing too. Even if you do get things like get married, it make it really easy to have any expenses that come up, or getting a house, or just anything like that. I mean, it's always beneficial. Money is just a means to an end, not an end. So I mean, some people might disagree, but I mean, even still, I don't think that money is an end. I mean, maybe some people find the like they find value in you know bragging about their worth, or buying stocks and owning stocks. But I think in the end, it's something. It's not the actual money, but it's something that the money brings to them that they value. But I mean, to me, most security, is worth its price in gold. So I think money does bring security, so that's something. But obviously, how I utilize it, and what I do with it, is debatable. But it's definitely worth doing. But I'm essentially, like with this, just depending how things go, by the time all the stuff is paid off, it could easily be $150,000 portfolio, maybe a $200,000 portfolio. I'll just have to see. But yeah, it could easily be something like that. Just depending on some of the workouts of how things go. But I mean, even at the low end, I think that by the time it's paid off from the dividends, it shouldn't take too long. It would be $150,000 portfolio. You think about that 10%, which I'm getting a lot more than that, but at 10%, that's you can only contribute like I think 7 or 8,000 a year to an IRA. I'm not sure exactly. It goes up over time, but it's not that much. And I would do Roth so I can, because I've already paid the tax on it, so initially, but then it just makes sense to just get the rest of it tax free. I can do high dividend in there too, and it's like a tax shelter. Get a lot of benefit out of that. I mean, there's restrictions on how how you can take it out, but I mean, obviously, I'm not hurting for capital, so it makes a lot of sense. But I mean, at 8,000, I'm pulling in, probably 20,000 plus in here. So it's like that. Plus, I can like build a little mini cash reserve in here. It won't be maybe as ideal as Vanguard, but I could put in like super short term bond ETFs that I could sell off pretty easily. And then maybe even just, also focus on some growth as well, So, but yeah, this is going to be great. I'm just so happy, and I'm sort of thinking this is like the final build. And then hopefully, obviously, we'll just see. I mean, if I don't get called, and if I end up keeping, almost 11,000 shares, it's gonna take a little bit longer to get to my goal, but it may be worth it. But if it do get called, you know, I should get there, sometime in 2027, I think. And then hopefully, I mean, the problem is that the other shares could get called too. But I feel like most likely, you can probably profitably kick the can down the road, in that, if you're about to get called, you could probably roll the option out for a couple years and actually get money to do it. And so I almost feel like in most cases, you could probably infinitely do that. I mean, it would become problematic if you're holding assets which weren't profitable and growing. But in this case, I have assets which are profitable and growing, so it's not even really I think we'll be fine. And even if we do get called, I mean, you're sitting at 150,000 plus in assets and cash. I can reinvest into some other things. It may not be as fun as Zim, but I mean, you can eventually get some Zim back as it falls to the right prices. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. This is looking wonderful. And the other nice thing is that while my margin is high, all the calls you can see are below the actual value of the stock, which actually is nice because what happens, that 450, if the stock say falls down to even $15 a share, so it goes from 18 to 15, what'll happen is that option, it will go down to about 250. So let's say we took a drop tomorrow. There's like zero reason this would happen. I think it's nearly impossible. But hypothetically, let's say we took a drop tomorrow of $3 a share. We would see a drop in that option of $2 a share. So it's going to provide me about you know, pretty far down, about 2/3 the downside, you know. So for every, you know, the first $3 that fall off of stock, that option will drop by $2, and then it'll get a lot slower as we go down. But it also really means that the like my portfolio, because of that cushion and how it's gonna super absorb any impact, that makes this extremely defensive, those calls too. That makes that margin so much safer, plus with the dividend. And then, you know, if those soon ones on the 30th get called, that's $40,000 plus a little bit over $40,000. So you take 40,000 plus 11,000 is 50,000, and then you subtract that off of that, and then I'm in the mid 40s or a little bit lower. And that at that point you're just like, that's just a tiny amount of margin compared to what I've got. So especially with all that downside cushion, that would be like just a tiny amount of leverage. And I mean, at that point, it'd just be really easy to pay it off. Even one like wild quarter, I could, like, hypothetically, I could actually get an IRA this year and start investing if Zim pulls off a $5 dividend, which I don't think it's going to come, but it could. Hypothetically, the rates spike enough, we get a $5 dividend. Think about that. It goes down to mid 40s. I'm rolling at about 9,000 shares, $5 dividend, 45,000. Boom, paid off. Maybe not a lot, but hypothetically, I could actually get the IRA this year and start investing in it. I don't think that scenario is going to play out, but it's not it's not impossible. If I were a betting guy, I'm not really much into betting. I mean, actually, I kind of am, but not that sort of betting, you know. But if I had to wager, you know, I would say maybe 5 to 10% odds that that happens. But it could, and so I think more likely is 2027. But I mean, 2026 of me getting the IRA and being able to put things in, I would say, you know, maybe closer to 25%. But by 2027, I think it's getting close to 100%, most likely. I mean, it could not happen, but um, you know, it's looking good. It's looking really good. I mean, it could even happen this year, and then it gets stronger each year. And I mean, by 2028, I think it just has to have happened. But I mean, but I'm really happy, you know. So this is going really great. So anyway, but yeah, and I appreciate anyone who, you know, watches. I know there's not a lot of comments. I don't really know that many people are watching, but it's really meaningful to me because I know there are some views, and it really helps me to keep me motivated. So I appreciate you guys. All right, take care.